And okay, we're live.
Hey, how
Hi.
are you, Marnie?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm up in the beautiful Okanagan, sitting here looking at this incredible view. I should show you.
Oh my gosh.
And we've sold our summer cabin, so we're up here packing up. So it's kind of bittersweet in a way, but nice to connect with you tonight. I hope you're doing okay. How was your day?
Oh, it was pretty good for the most part. Had a really nice weekend. Again, I feel so grateful to live where I live and knowing that like the cases of COVID on our island are pretty low. So I feel lucky and that I can still move around without being overly stressed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously there's still day-to-day concerns and wanting to make sure that I'm safe and healthy, but definitely feeling very grateful.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. And we're just staying close to home here as well.
Nice.
Um, Tonight, yesterday, I think it was yesterday, I saw this quote that just resonated with me. And we thought we'd talk a bit about it tonight because I think it's so important for women. And what it was is that we should listen when our mind and our body is whispering, as opposed to letting it go and waiting till it's screaming. And I just loved that quote because I think so many of us as women, we are masters at pushing through and putting on that big front and go, 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 multitasking, accomplishing so much, meeting everybody's expectations. And I don't think we do listen to our bodies and our minds enough when we're in that whisper stage, as opposed to it screaming, either with thoughts or it could be chronic pain or gut issues or whatever it may be. And I just think it's a really valuable topic for women to think about and to think about doing the work on themselves in that whisper stage. Don't you agree?
I think that's I love the analogy of it. Like we talk so much about being self-aware. And I think some people don't really quite even know how to start paying attention to that. But it's so true that each and every one of us, our body and our mind, they are very, very good and intuitive. Like if we start paying attention, we can start doing the work and making the changes right now. And I know, Leslee, you have had some of your own experiences of doing this exact thing, listening to whispers. And I'd love if you would maybe share some of your experiences and how you kind of nip things in the bud before they turned into screams.
Well, and I've done both. I've certainly been at the scream stage too. But I think one of the really important ones for me is I suffered with anxiety in my 20s, and it came on pretty quickly, to be honest. And I used to get anxiety, the shortness of breath, the hyperventilating, sort of panic attacks, basically. And I used to get it when I was driving, and it came on so quickly for me. And it sounds like, I mean, yes, in a way my body was screaming, but I actually got onto it quickly when my body was whispering and trying to let me know that I needed to tend to it. And I did the work. I got medical attention right away, and I realized I wasn't having heart attacks, that they were panic attacks. So once I accepted the medical diagnosis, I then did the work on my brain. And I what it was attributed to or connected to was in my upbringing. I was raised where we sort of hid our feelings. We didn't expose ourselves. We kind of pretended everything was okay, stiff upper lip, that kind of upbringing. So I was suppressing my feelings and really holding things in, and it was manifesting itself in anxiety. And I caught it quickly, and I caught it early, and I got through my anxiety. And I'm learning that was actually a great gift, because so many women suffer with anxiety as a lifelong battle. But it's an example of investing the time and the work in the early stages and actually beating it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that you were able to do that young, because that's the thing, right? If we don't tackle these earlier on, they're going to be more difficult to tackle later on. We can still make shifts and changes as we get older, but there's going to be a lot more piled on to that, and there's more layers to move backwards through and make those shifts in behavior or whatever it is that you're doing, where we get ingrained in these thought patterns or ways of living our lives, and it can be more and more difficult to shift those as we get older. Would
Yeah,
you agree?
and we accept them, and
Yeah.
I think women, we often do that. We accept
Mhm.
sort of less than perfect performance, either with our minds or our body, and we learn to survive and kind of push through. And it's a lousy way to live. And I
Mhm.
think what we're all about at L60
Yeah.
is doing that early work, especially young women, and doing the preventative work to get at what your issues are, both mentally and physically, and investing the time. And it's what L60 is all about, is giving you the tools, the support, the resources to
Mhm.
do that work. And yes, we were talking about it earlier. It takes commitment. It
Yeah.
takes investment of time. It doesn't come easy, and we have to solve it ourselves. But we have to do the work, and do it when the whispers are starting.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. And, you know, giving some tough love to the folks watching and later in the Emotional Health Matters group when we go there. But I think a lot of us are raised, and it's, by no fault of our own and by no fault of our parents, but it just becomes this, there's almost this sense of entitlement, like, or in Western medicine, where we believe that someone else is going to swoop in and fix our problems for us, or a medication is going to fix the problem for us, or, I don't feel satisfied or happy with my life, or I feel depressed, or I feel sad, or I feel anxious. So I'm going to glom on to a partner who's going to make everything better for me. And there's a lot of, that's a huge problem, and it's very common in our society, where we don't want to do our own work because it's hard, or it feels like it's hard sometimes. And there is no question that there are moments when it's difficult, but that's not like, and I think that's also a problem with our society nowadays. We expect everything to be easy and quick and efficient and right, like available immediately. And that's just not the way it is. That's not the reality. So it's really about a shift in mindset. And I think a lot of us maybe avoid listening to those whispers because we know that there might be some work attached to it. We actually will have to look at these areas we don't really want to. And there's also a lot of fear. Like, I don't know about you, but if you're dealing with anxiety, or if you think that maybe you might have a health concern, you don't want to look at it, because if you don't look at it, then you don't ever have to face it. But that is hugely problematic, because it can just snowball out of control. And before you know it, you have a chronic disease that's underlying that you are going to be on medication for the rest of your life, or you are now being diagnosed with some sort of mental health disorder. So that's the whole thing, is getting on it early. I
Oh,
really, really love that idea that, L60 empowers women to take their health into their own hands, but you have to be willing to do the hard work, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. And man, I wish I'd had L60, because, as you know, the screaming side of things with me is I was an extremely strong woman through my corporate career and single mom, and I had, a huge strong front, and I could push through
Mm,
pretty much anything. And
yeah,
I was kind of proud of that fact.
yeah,
But, I screamed into my 50s feeling like a piece of what,
yeah.
and I literally had to stop. And it was almost too late. I mean, I hit menopause in my early 50s, and my health was so poor because I was absolutely burned out after many, many years of hard work, and I had my own business and raising kids and blah, blah, blah. And my body was screaming, and I literally had to stop, Marley, as you know, and I did. I had to take a break and figure out what was going on, and it was too late. And when I look back, man, I wish I had addressed that in my 30s, when it was whispering to me that I was pushing too hard, and there were some issues around food with me and my hormones. And I wish I'd done the work.
Yeah.
My life could have been so much better if I had listened and invested the time. So, lesson learned. And that's why I'm so passionate about what we're doing, because I want to help women when they're young, because man, you can buy such a much better life if you do that work.
Yeah, and what a gift like that you are giving to women. This program that you and Lydia, your niece and naturopathic doctor, like you have, and to bring me into this project, I've just been blown away because it's so, my values are so aligned with that. Like I work with seniors and I see what will happen if we don't take care of our bodies. And I'm like, they've been incredible teachers for me, the wisdom that people can pass down to you. And if you don't hear it or listen to it, when you're young, again, like there's so much beautiful wisdom that you're offering in this gift of creating this incredible program that's putting power into women's hands to take their emotional health into their own control and make the changes now rather than waiting.
Yeah, and seeing the value in it, literally stopping and thinking about the value of doing that work. And, our focus is emotional health because we feel it's at the core of so many physical symptoms as well. But stopping, slowing down, allowing a little bit of time every day to do the work it's going to give you a better life and a freer life, right? And really tuning in to some of the whispers that are going on right now for you, especially if you're in your 20s or 30s, right? Once you have kids, there's a whole new set of whispers that start, new pressures, new expectations, new sensations that go on in your body as you become a parent. And there's stages all through your life. So investing, learning how to do the work and what work you need to do, and particularly your program, Marley, around L-Mind, understanding how your upbringing has affected you, how it's taught you how you handle things, and some of your patterns and your coping mechanisms. We have to do the work. It's so important.
Yeah, there's no getting around it. That's for sure. And I know a lot of our women in our Emotional Health Matters group and our private L Circle group are doing the work, and it's really incredible. I think that's the other piece is around having this community, because as I mentioned to you before we came on, I lived up until my late 20s thinking that being bloated every single time I ate was a normal thing and that everybody experienced that. So until I started talking to other people and realized it wasn't normal, I was like, oh, I guess I need to do something about this. So if that is the other thing about having a community, to know that what you're going through maybe isn't normal, maybe isn't healthy. And, you don't know that until you either do your own research or maybe you start asking around, but that having that community is so key.
Oh, it's so key. Like there's, I don't know if you saw the whole thread of discussion in Emotional Health Matters about anxiety today. Oh man, the discussions and the thoughts and the experiences and the wisdom that was being shared, it blew me away. Took me back to my days when I was battling anxiety, and how I would have loved to have had that support and learn from the wisdom of others, right?
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, speaking of Emotional Health Matters, we got a couple minutes before we got to go over there. So shall we?
Yeah, let's go over there. And please, ladies, if you're watching this, really start tuning into those whispers and try to see if you can get at them early before they become those big loud screams.
Okay, Leslie, we'll see you over there in Emotional Health Matters.
Okay, thanks.